The cheap Chinese knockoff CoffeeZilla void is back. Why? Because you cannot avoid the facts. Well, you can just click off this. But I hope that you don't, because there's some really steamy updates, and I do need to emphasize steamy. Oh, one of them got me hard. All right, it's not a great phrase for when you're talking about Epstein, but I stand by it. Here's the intro. Look, we will get to the steamy ones, right? But first things first, most importantly, I'm doing my show in Melbourne. So make sure that you get your tickets to that. I think it's better to go at Ballarat as well, but really, who cares if you go to that or not? The point is that it's about aliens, so that's yet another conspiratorial wormhole that you can descend into insanity with me, your buddy Friendly Geordies. Let's get into the updates. You heard this? Apparently Epstein cucked Trump by a year. Oh no, Melania was sloppy seconds to Epstein.
He had sex with Melania a full year before Donald Trump commenced his relationship.
Look, I'll say this, again, because we're all schmoes here. I think that would still be a point of bragging if we were, like, from us, even though he's, like, the most famous pedo of all time. You know, my wife fucked Jeffrey Epstein. Yep. That makes me pretty cool, because, like, she's good enough to at least hang around with a billionaire. But when it comes to Trump, you know that would have to eat away at him. Of course it would. Then again, there is the counter argument to that they seem to split a lot of chicks. I mean, they used to have a shared girlfriend. What even is a shared girlfriend? Like, I've heard of time-shared condos. But what is it, the same thing? You get it for 2 weeks, I get it for 2 weeks, everyone's happy. It's a fantastic deal. Look, maybe that is the case. And isn't that astonishing that it is? And again, it's another one of these points where, okay, we don't know who the hell can. I mean, probably Jeffrey Epstein would definitely know because he's got cameras in his house, and we'll get to that. But this all came out of a book that is getting released about Prince Andrew. And in the hard copy of it, it says that the way that they were introduced, obviously, was through Epstein. They had a bit of a interaction on one of Epstein's planes. So that was, I wonder if that gets past the algorithm. We might have to blur it anyway. Let's find out together. But this is the point that just makes it all the more suspicious. It's not in the audiobook. That excerpt is taken out. Why? I mean, I'd know if I was Melania, I'd want to know why it would be taken out, but what's going on here? Every single day there is more question marks. That's what's endlessly fascinating about this, don't you? It's like a little bit gets teased here and then a little like poof of smoke somewhere else. Speaking of, the former head of the DOJ, Bill Barr, who I do very much like the look of. He looks like he should be some kind of toad creature in Wind in the Willows, yeah, with those nice little circular glasses and this kind of jacket. He's got that really friendly, soft teddy bear gait that walks about him. Doesn't look like a guy that should be a head of the Department of Justice. Anyway, he went to Capitol Hill to answer questions. Now, just so you know, because I did just discover this while this was all going down, and I think that this is phenomenal. Barr was Attorney General when Epstein did an Epstein, and it was under him that all the dodgy stuff happened, like footage of Epstein's cell getting lost during an attempt due to, how's this for an excuse, technical errors. This really reminds me of what used to go down in New South Wales in the 70s before Bob Carr, little Labor plug here. That's why there's a Superior Party. Went through with the Police Royal Commission, cleaned it up. But before that, God, the New South Wales police were tainted. The 70s, this entire play is written about it, and therefore it's true, because it was in a play. But a classic thing that used to happen all the time was the mob connections with the cops. If there was a crime scene and they had a locker full of evidence, all of a sudden the locker full of evidence would just go disappearing. These used to happen constantly. Oh, cockroaches must have gotten super intelligent and broken in and stolen all the diamonds. This isn't so much a justice case anymore. We should take this to the Department of the Environment to investigate. Are they going to replace us as the new super species? That's how it used to go down. All the time in the 70s. That evidence used to just go missing. It just smacks too much of the same thing that we were discussing before, which is it is such an open and shut case of corruption in front of us that is just such a bad cover-up. Like, the thing is, I would imagine back in the 70s, first off, there just wouldn't have been the level of scrutiny that there is on the President of the United States. But the other thing is, it's in the future, it's harder to cover up. But I would imagine the people of the 70s, because there was sort of a dignity to this and dealing with the mafia, that it would have been a hell of a lot better done. So you have these kind of instances over and over where you have the Department of Justice speaking like he's just some Lakemba police officer on the beat getting dragged into the Senate. It got lost, what can I tell you? Oh, and by the way, let's finish off with this. In that same book, by that journo that was talking about Prince Andrew, this is just golden. Apparently there was a cop that was working with the FBI while they were busting Epstein, and the camera thing. He said that the camera thing happened. That Epstein was filming clients, well, you know, in inverted commas, clients at his house. He was scared that that footage was going to go by the wayside somehow and disappear. So exactly what we're talking about with Barr saying that story, right? And the cop apparently takes the footage to Russia, and then Putin's just like, yes, advantage Putin. And so that might exist. Anyway, that's a little tidbit. Obviously, that's all speculation, and obviously the journalist was sitting there and saying, this is some guy told me this. But still, imagine if it happened! Yeah, so that just sums up that. In terms of just local Australian news, I would like to just tack this on. Daryl Maguire of Daryl Maguire fame. Remember the egg? Remember the aging egg? Gladys Berejiklian's boyfriend. Does that run your memory? Does that make you steamy? What would you rather thinking about? Epstein and Melania or Gladys and Daryl? Epstein and Melania any day of the week. I'm sorry. This is just Jesus. But I will say, justice has been served, finally. I mean, this is the fairy tale ending of what Hollywood used to portray the justice system in the United States going down in the 90s, you know? Where there'd just be that music at the end being like, beep, 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 beep. And then they just show Blind Lady Justice next to an American statue, and then it'd just say like, directed by Francis Ford Coppola or whatever, right? That happens in Australia. And that's why Australia's sick, sucked into all the Americans that I baited watching this. You're just gonna hear this, right? There was a premier that was privied by her boyfriend who, first off, she just built things for him in his own electorate, classic pork barreling stuff. But the other thing is, he just openly said to her on the phone, we have the recording, that, yeah, I'm getting some deals done with some Chinese developers. And then the Premier of New South Wales said, I don't need to know that bit. And in fact, it's actively saying, yes, I heard that you're doing corrupt dealings. I'm not going to report these. Let's just pretend you didn't say that.
I don't need to know about that bit.
But again, people were recording it. I don't even know how that happened, by the way, but it did. And so, it took ages, but he's going to prison for 10 months. That's how the system should work. That should give you some believability in the system. It gives it credibility, and I'm very, very happy that it happened. And I think that this does also tie down everybody online that's always saying like, oh, all politicians are corrupt and they're in it for themselves. No, in Australia, when you are found guilty of corruption, you do face consequences. I'm awfully sorry that those consequences take a long time. But trust me, you don't want to live in a society where you can just be accused of corruption and then go to jail. For how long? Until I say you get out, yes? Because that is the alternative to having a rigorous justice process. Everything that happened in that shows to me, personally, that the system works. And I couldn't be happier. It just takes 90 months instead of 90 minutes like it does in the American films. Oh, whatever it was, I don't do maths. This is a really good day to be Australian, and yet another hilarious day to be American. Everyone wins. I'll see you at my Melbourne show.